Alright, so it's been quite a while since I've put out a video, and that's just because I've been super busy with some changes at work, but this one should be a quick and easy one. This is going to be a spark plug change on a 2016 Chevrolet Malibu with a 2-liter turbo engine. So let's go ahead and get this guy open and see what we need to do. This one's the old-fashioned way. You got to pull up the little thing here and put it right in here. There we go, there it is. Now this one has about 62,000 miles. You're supposed to do this at 60,000 miles, and I didn't have a chance to do that because my son had it with him at college, but we're gonna go ahead and do it now. So let me get you guys set up, and we'll get this cover off, and we'll see what needs to be done. All right, there she is. So the first thing we need to do is take this cover off. Before I do that though, let's blow this off because it's a little dusty. You can use a blower attachment on an air compressor if you want, but I'm gonna use my DeWalt blower right now because it's quicker and easier. That didn't really do much, but hey, we did it anyway. Okay, looks like we need a Torx. Son of a gun. All right, well, I have some e-Torx. Let's see if those will fit. Actually, these aren't e-Torx, these are Torx Plus. Torx Plus will probably work. Yeah, that actually fits really good, but that's just a standard Torx. We're gonna use a Torx Plus. Like I said, I don't know where my Torx wrenches are, so we'll use this. This is actually good because I can actually torque it to spec too. So to remove this cover, you have these 3 screws right here, and you also have to take the oil filter cap off. Make sure that you don't get any junk down in there. So after you take it off, remove the cover, put it back on. So I'm just going to start these by hand with the wrench, and then we'll finish them up just like this. Don't, oh dear Lord, don't drop your tools. Come on, Kevin. That's what happens when you haven't worked on a car in 3 months. I'm going to leave this on here just so I don't drop it again. Actually, we'll probably just do them by hand. What do you think? Oh my goodness, what a way to start this off. What a way to start this off. I don't know if these are captive. They are not captive, so don't drop these either. If you're really fancy, you can do 2 at a time. Man, I wasn't gonna put gloves on. I didn't think I was gonna get dirty, and now I'm dirty. All right, well, now that I'm dirty, let's really get dirty. Oh, FedEx is here. Oh, they aren't stopping at my house. That's a first. My wife has a dance studio, so every day we're getting something. Not today, not from FedEx. So unhook that, spin that off, and then we should be able to remove this top, this cover. I'm not sure if it's snapped on. It does not feel like it's snapped on. There you go. Now put your oil filler cap back on. And what we have to do now is we need to take these 4 clips off. These wire connectors have to come off. So to do that, you're going to slide up your red retainer, little safety retainer there. And let's see if we can figure out how this works. Surely you have to push down on something, you know what I'm saying? So I guess you just gently put, yeah, I feel it now, right here, push down right here, and then slide it on out. Now, it's really hard to mess these up because they don't really reach the other locations. Just push them up out of the way. Let's do this one. And let's do the last one. There we go. So just push those up out of the way. I am going to blow this off again. That's why you want to put your cap on, because you never know what type of mess you're going to make. You don't want that mess going inside the engine. All right, next step is we're going to loosen up these bolts. We're going to take those coils out. So let's go ahead and get that done. That looks like a 10 millimeter. Let's grab a 10 millimetric. Get your wrench going the right direction. Loosen these up. If you want to be quick at it, you can go grab your drill or impact driver or electric ratchet. I'm just going to spin these off by hand, and they are not captive either, so don't drop them. That one's kind of in a weird place with that tube, so I'm going to screw it on out like that. I'm going to go set these out of the way. There are torque specifications for all of this. I'll tell you what those are as I go. There it is. So there's no order. You know, these don't have to go back in where you took them out. I generally do put them back in the same spot, but there's no difference between them. So if you take them out, while you have it out, you can inspect your boot. Make sure there are no tears, there's no sign of any electron leakage coming out there. These ones look really good. We're going to set that aside. That's our, I don't know what the cylinder numbering is on this. We're just going to say that's the first one. Since that's the first one we took out, let's go ahead and do this one. I like to give them a little wiggle just in case they're stuck on. And that one looks really good. Set that one aside. That's our number 2. Grab this one. That one's a little, see how that one's stuck? So that's something you have to be conscious of. They stick on there and you can damage the boot and you have to replace the boot. Now, you should always inspect the boot. If it is damaged, you can, I believe you can replace them separate. If not, then you have to replace the entire ignition coil. There we go. So there's the third one. Don't shut your hood while you have those sitting over on the side. Have them sit over on the side here. If you shut the hood, you're going to damage them. So that one came off real easily too. Looks good. And we'll set that one aside. Again, wow, these things are deep. Oops, sorry guys, earthquake. These are deep in there. We're gonna blow them out. There shouldn't be any debris down in there because the boots seal it up, but we're gonna blow it out anyway, just in case. There's a leaf down in there. Oh, got him. Yes, there it is. I'm gonna get you closer down in there. You can see what those look like. I don't know how well that's gonna focus. Let me get a flashlight. Get a little flashlight. See if we can see down in there a little better. There you go. Look at that. Fancy. How's it look down there? Good and clean? I can't see. Good and clean. On my Encore, water was getting in one of them for some reason. I had to replace the boots on those. All right, those look good. Oh no, I can't. I was going to stick my camera and my flashlight up here, but it's an aluminum hood. So that's not going to happen. All right, there it is. Let's get you set back up. We'll get these plugs out and we'll get new ones in. All right, let's get plug number 1. I'm going to need an extension because those guys are down in there. All right. Oh no, this one's missing the ball. We can't use this one. Ball fell out of this one. Look at that. Now it doesn't have a springy ball anymore and I can't use it for stuff like this. Here we go. Here it is. It's probably longer than it needs to be, but that's okay. Make sure your little rubber insert's in there so it catches on to the spark plug so you can actually pull it out. All right, guys. Oh, that's in there tight. I may not have been in the first one in here. Let me get a longer ratchet. You don't torque these down very tight. You don't have to. Problem is, other people get in there and they just go to town on them. Like big old gorillas in there. Let me see what this torque spec is on these. Torque specage says a whopping 15 foot-pounds. So somebody went crazy on this one. So we're gonna take our Pittsburgh Harbor Freight ratchet And we're gonna see if we can get this out. Oh yeah, there we go. That wasn't too bad. Let's see if they put anti-seize on it, which you're also not supposed to do on these. I can't tell if there's anti-seize on. I don't think there is. Usually if there's anti-seize, it's kind of tough to take out the entire way. Oh, another thing, guys, on these aluminum heads, you do not want to do this while they're hot. You can damage the threads taking them out. I can't tell if I've got it or not. I do, I've got it. All right, no anti-seize. I don't think these have been out before. I think it's just the first time in 60,000 miles, and that's why it was a little hard to get them out. They're a little, it looks to me like they got a little bit of black buildup on there. A little more than I'm used to seeing. But that might just be because these, yeah, it's just a little coating on it. So anyway, there's that one. That's number one. All right, guys, let me show you this. So these are the original spark plugs, AC-delco 126-47827. Actually, that's the GM part number, and this is the AC-delco part number, 41125. So looks like those are the original ones. I'm going to set this one aside, and I'm going to compare it to the other ones as I take them out. All right, here we go. Kind of doing it the hard way. I'm pulling instead of pushing. But you guys are in my way, so I don't have an option. That's okay. That is okay with me. There it is. And that one looks exactly the same as the other one. And that is also the same spark plug part numbers as the other one. Number 3, here we go. Number 3, that feels good. I'm gonna try to pull this one. Do this one lefty. There we go. There we go, there it is. And that one looks exactly the same as the other ones. And there is your part number. And last one, here we go. There's the last one. Looks exactly the same as the other 3. And the number is also the same. All right, here are our replacements. And as you can see, the number did change. So hopefully you guys can see that. 12681659. And that's a 41125. So the AC-delco part number is the same. The GM part number has changed. Let's go ahead, take these out. These are supposed to be factory gapped to 0.035. We'll double check them before we put things in. So I can't find my plug gapper, but this is a 0.035 feeler gauge. We'll use that. So let me open these up one by one. We'll check them as we put them in. All right, there is our new plug. Let's go ahead and open that up. Now, you got to be careful buying these, and I think I've said it in my other videos. If you haven't heard me say it yet, it is amazing how many counterfeit spark plugs there are out there. So make sure that you get these from a reputable company. All right, so that doesn't actually fit in there. That's a little smaller than 0.035. I'm not going to force it. I am going to look at it a little more closely in the sunlight here. I have a 0.032. All right, so this is a 0.032. This 0.032 fits in there. I'm not going to jam it up in there because it's kind of tight. 0.030 to 0.035, I believe, is what the specs are for this. These are gapped to 0.035 supposedly. This is close enough. We're going to go ahead and use it. So technically, this one would be right in the middle of specifications. Now be careful with these. I have one where it's loose, and then you go to put it in and it falls out on its tip, and it bends it. So I'm going to hand tighten these. And I'm just going to go down the line, and then we're going to come back and we're going to torque them to spec. So 035 is too tight. 032, yeah, it goes in. I'm not going to force it, because if you get kind of a little sideways, you might end up damaging that iridium tip. So we're going to call that good. Let's do this one. Like I was saying, guys, there is a lot of counterfeit plugs. And I actually ran into this with the plugs on my Suburban. They ended up being counterfeit. So they're supposed to be iridium. I think they're iridiums. And so it's supposed to have an iridium tip. And I was having all sorts of problems with the engine. And I thought it was the engine, so I was focusing on the engine. I'm like, these plugs only have like 3,000 miles on them. I'm not going to take them out and look at them. And so I didn't, and I got looking at all this other stuff. And finally, I decided to take the plugs out and check them. The iridium tip was worn down to the insulator. It was gone. Counterfeit AC-delco spark plugs, guys. And this was, I don't know, 7-8 years ago. Maybe longer. So anyway, these came from Rock Auto. Rock Auto ships from auto parts distributors around the country. And so those should be coming straight from the manufacturer. You shouldn't be getting any counterfeit from them. But again, you always should check. And a lot of the manufacturers actually have information online on how you can check for counterfeit plugs. So these ones do look to be genuine, and we're going to install them. All right, that one was actually perfect as well. It was at 0.032. We'll go ahead and install it, and then we'll get that last one done. And then next we'll torque them to spec. All right, we're just going to go straight to the 0.032. Yep, I can feel it going in. I'm not going to force it again. I feel it going in and catching. I'm not going to go any further than that. All 4 of those are in. We have to torque them to spec now. These get torqued to a whopping 15 foot-pounds. So let me get my torque wrench and we will torque these to 15 foot-pounds. There's our torque wrench, 15 foot-pounds. So the line right there's our 15. You got to get it right on that line, or just a hair under the line. Sometimes it's a hair off, and sometimes it ends up being a hair over. But it's just the way these wrenches are not very perfect. So right there is 10. All right, it's just below the 10. 11, 12, 13, 14, and then 15. So that's right at 15. You know it's at 15 because if you go higher, if you go to the next 0, you're way over the 15. So right there is your 15 foot-pounds. Tighten your little knob down. It has a little indents, or it has little notches in the bottom here, and you tighten it, and it holds it into place at 15 foot-pounds. So let's go ahead and get these torqued to 15 foot-pounds and stop when you hear the click. Guys, it's like almost nothing, especially when you have a long handle like this. So do not over torque them. You don't have to. Once it clicks, go to the next one. That's it. You don't have to do anything else. Don't be tempted. You don't have to. Now that those are done, let's get the boots reinstalled. Now for that, you're going to want to get yourself a little dielectric grease, and I am going to put some gloves on because dielectric grease gets everywhere. If you don't have any and you don't want to buy a big batch, you can actually, at the auto parts stores, at the checkout area, they always have them hanging there. So you'll see they have some for spark plugs and they have some for brake pads. I have some Permatex dielectric tune-up grease. That's what we're going to use. So here's what I'm going to do. You don't need a lot. You just have to put a little thin layer around the inside of them. So that actually might even be too much, guys. You don't want a whole bunch. You don't need a whole bunch. So just take this, and according to the service manual, service manual says 0.6 inches. So a little over ½ an inch. You just go in there, smeared. Hope you guys saw that. Go in there, smeared around, just like that. Make sure there's not a bunch in there. You don't want to get it on the end of the spark plug. This is just so the boot doesn't stick when you take it off, and it makes it easier to push it on. All right, here's a little bit more for this one. Don't go too far. You don't want to get it all up in there either. I mean, it's not going to hurt anything, but you know, technically it could block the electrical path if you get too much up in there. Cause you some misfires. You don't want that. So I'm probably going in about a little over ½ an inch. So you know that's probably about a ½ inch right about there. Let's get a little more on here. So again, just a little tiny bit on there. Come on. A little bit like that. And then go ahead and don't go too deep. A little too deep. Just like that, guys. Get your little dust off. I don't know where that guy must have blew in the wind and stuck to it. So that's it for the dielectric grease. Let's go ahead, drop this guy in there. So just set it on in, slide it down, and give it a little twist if you need to. It should go right in with that dielectric grease on there. That's that one. And number 2, same thing, same direction. Drop it on in, just like that. And then number 3, let me reach on in front of you there, guys. Same thing. Oop, this one has junk on it too. Get that junk off. You don't want that junk getting down in there. Not sure where that junk came from. It must have just, like I said, something blew onto it while it was sitting there, or what. I don't know. And last one. Just like that. That's it. Easy as that. So these actually do have a torque spec because you don't want to be stripping them out of your aluminum cover there. These are 89 inch-pounds or 10 Newton meters. So my little guy here doesn't go to 89 inch-pounds, so I'm going to go ahead and get one that does. All right, guys, I think this is the one that goes by 10s. So we're going to turn that up until we hit 80, which is right about there. Oops, I'm not in frame here. So right about there is 80. And then these have numbers all the way up to 9. You're going to stop at your 9. 89 inch-pounds. So make sure it says inch-pounds. If you do 89 foot-pounds, you are going to strip every one of those out. All right, first things first, I'm just going to set every one of these in here. And I'm going to hand start it until it bottoms out. All right, guys, 89 inch-pounds. Oh, wrong way. And last one. That's it. All good. Okie dokie. Now that those are torqued to specifications, let's go ahead and put our connectors back on. One thing to be sure of is I have had it where these little seals on the inside, so these have little, look like orange color seals. I've had it where they've stuck on there or they have just fallen out. You got to watch out for that because then water can get in there. So slide it on until it clicks. Push your little red connector in there, and then you can give it a tug to make sure it's not going to come out. Like I said, if you want to inspect them all, I could see those 3 had them, and that one also has it. But I got all done with my Encore, and I found one of those seals just laying on the ground. I had to figure out which one it went to. Luckily, I got it on like the 2nd or 3rd try. So anyhow, that's it. They're all back on. Now we have to put the cover back on. This one does have a torque specification, and I think it's 80 inch-pounds, 9 Newton meters. 80 inch-pounds, 9 Newton meters. All right, there is our cover. Make sure you take the oil filler out, or next time you go to change the oil or somebody goes to change it, they're going to be wondering what in the world's going on here. So just set it on like so. Put your oil filler cap back in. I will get you the correct Torx for these. Like I said, right now this is a Torx Plus, but it does fit pretty good. So for Torx Plus, this is a TP27. These, I don't know, these do look like, they look like regular Torx, but anyway, Torx Plus 27 fits them. And again, it's also good because I can torque these to spec with this. With my other ones, they're just on a metal holder, so you can't torque them to spec. All right, let me set that down, and we can probably do both of these at the same time, hopefully without dropping them. There's that one. Almost there. So 80 down to the line on 0, 80 inch-pounds, like so. And just torque that to spec. That's it. All done. All right, guys, so while we're in here, it's a good time to check all your fluids. Make sure everything looks good. So our coolant looks good. Now, it's gonna be really hard to see the brake fluid. I actually can see it. So the brake fluid, I don't know if you can see that little bubble right there flopping around. So it's right about to the edge of this line right here, which means we are really good with our brake fluid. What else? There's really not a whole lot to check on these. You don't have power steering reservoir anymore. You don't have a transmission dipstick anymore. Technically, it's all lifetime. Really, what it means is it's the lifetime of you owning and driving the vehicle. And they figure most people are not going to do that after 100 to 150,000 miles. So in your lifetime of owning this car, you won't have to change any fluids. But if anybody buys it used, they're going to have to do that if it's over 100, 150,000 miles. In any case, we are done underneath the hood. Let's go ahead and get this hood shut. Done. All right, let's see if we can see the miles on this thing. Here we go. 65,074 miles. So we were about 5,000 over what we should have been. But you know what? It still ran good. There was no issues with it. These iridium tipped plugs can go a while. All right, guys, there you have it. That's how you change the spark plugs on a 2016 Chevrolet Malibu with a 2-liter turbo engine. So as you saw, we did go about 5,000 miles over the recommended change interval. Not really a huge deal. I mean, these spark plugs can get you 100,000 miles on, you know, your 6-cylinder, 8-cylinder engines and 4-cylinders that don't have turbos. So the turbo is really what requires you to change these a little sooner than the other ones. So guys, that's it, man. I hope you guys like that. And as always, I want to thank you for watching. Kevin's Way Works. Uh-oh.